I want to start with an old quote because I would like you to help explain to the viewers where the gun rights movement moved. In 1999, Wayne LaPierre of the NRA went to Congress and said this.
We think it's reasonable to provide mandatory instant criminal background checks for every sale at every gun show. No loopholes anywhere for anyone.
Something has changed from then to now, where reasonable regulations were at least openly debated by gun rights officials. And now you can't do anything without it looking like your anti-Second Amendment. What happened?
Actually, the NRA, I could argue, is the more moderate gun group, because if you go to many states, including my own in North Carolina, there are now some grassroots gun organizations that are making the NRA actually go more to the right on this issue, and different from what the chairman or the president of the NRA has to say. So they're being pushed politically more to the right on this political issue, as President Trump was during his term, where he was going to institute some policies, and then he was pushed to reverse that decision. But, you know, I think we need to be very strategic in how we say this. One thing we can't have is the candidate from the governor candidate in Texas saying we need to get rid of all guns or we need to confiscate guns, because that's going to make people back into the corner even more and go, wait a minute, they're trying to take away our guns. Because there's a reason for guns right now that people are buying them. In fact, right now, gun sales are up right now after this tragedy. And the
But the gun manufacturers market the tragedy. I mean, that's what's sort of grotesque about this, don't they? I mean, they are marketing towards this violence in a weird, perverse way in order to increase gun sales.
There's a feeling out there of an institutional breakdown, not just at the federal government level, but at the local and state also, because we're all involved. And we were both mayors together at one time. And at that time, every one of our shootings that occurred when I was mayor, you'd take it personally, and you'd go find out the 17 or 18-year-old kid who was involved in the murder, who was killed. You'd go back and find out that incident could have been prevented long ago. There was a breakdown in the family. There was alcohol and drugs in the household. There was domestic violence. There was a dropout in school. There was violence in the school.
Every country in the world has these issues.
No,
but they don't have the easy access to the weapon.
I don't know if every country in the world has what we're seeing of an institutional breakdown in all of our organizations. It's like spaghetti right now. No one's talking to each other at the local, state, and federal level. We even saw this at the shooting, where we had all these different police agencies come, and they're not communicating with each other, even with the 911 call. That's at the micro level. At the macro level, from the federal, state, and local, it's just a disjointed policy and disjointed operation of that policy. And what we have right now from a business standpoint, I'd look at it and go, we've got angry young men who are doing most of these killings, whether it be in Chicago or whether it be in mass killings. It's angry young men, and we've got to target our resources toward these angry young men that you and I have seen killed or doing the killing, and then somehow prevent them from getting these weapons of mass destruction.
Well, and I want to get to the weapon. Kevin Kramer, who's a Republican senator from North Dakota, basically, he's been one of the few that sort of is admitted the political reality. He could support the most modest effort, maybe raising the minimum age to buy a weapon of war from 18 to 21, and he'd lose a primary, and he'd get walloped in a primary over this. Is that the bottom line here, that why elected Republicans are afraid of touching gun regulation? They're willing to talk red flag laws. They're willing to talk, but all these other things, but they won't touch the gun.
Well, I was a mayor for 14 years, and I'd reduced the murder rate by over 50% due to some tough law enforcement and some mentoring and other programs. I lost a primary 2 weeks ago to a congressman who had a gun in his front trousers in a commercial.
In every TV ad.
In every TV ad. And that was a more powerful message to the constituency voting in that primary. He was tougher, I was weaker, and yet my record of accomplishment in fighting crime is unsurpassed.
But it's about the gun, it's not about the record.
It's a symbolism. It's a symbolism. And right now we've got people who don't trust right now the criminal justice system. We're letting criminals go. You see the DAs in L.A., the DAs in some of these cities where they're letting criminals go after crime after crime after crime, and people are going, you know, I'm going to take this into my own hands. I'm going to protect my family. I'm going to protect my home. I'm
So this is
going
a
to protect
cultural
myself
problem.
in a car.
So what you're saying is a cultural problem.
Absolutely. The violence is a cultural problem that this country must face, and it's got to be common sense. As I agree with the senator, we've got to come up with some common sense solutions. I'll give you one quick example.
Very quick. We got to.
Our sheriffs in North Carolina can do a red flag check on any handgun permit because they know who the troublemakers are. So they can turn down someone. I had to fight to keep that power for the sheriffs as governor.
Right, because they want to take all those things away, state after state. Pat McCrory, I appreciate it. And before that, Senator Booker.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.